here's Alex from Black Sheep IT Consulting with a quick update on the 25.10 update. Actually, the installation of or the application of the update to a previous version. So in my case, I have 25.9, but you could have 25.1 or 24. Something or 23. Something down to Siebel 18. Hopefully you're not using that anymore, but applying a Siebel update has been explained in a lot of videos by me, but this one is special, the 25.10, as it includes the Encryption Upgrade utility. So we are going to do a quick walkthrough through an update on a Windows machine. So you can see I've just launched a demo machine here. It has a lot of Siebel stuff installed, so the update is, well, quite realistic. It's all on one machine, so typically you have that stuff spread out across multiple machines. So I have the enterprise cache here, and I have, of course, a Siebel server and the Siebel application interface. I even have a sidecar for Kafka integration. So you can see this by the Apache services. And you can see these Apache Tomcat services are all stopped. That's important. The entire Siebel enterprise is stopped. This is a development environment, so my debug service is also stopped. Make sure to stop any Siebel services before you do that. If you don't do the rolling update, we're not doing a rolling update. We're doing a full stop on the enterprise, which is the safest, and that also has implications on how the 25.10 encryption upgrade plays out. And of course, this applies if you were watching this video and time has moved on and it's not 25.10 anymore, it's maybe 26.1 or 2. If you cross the line from pre-25.10 to something later, this will apply. And of course, it is different on Linux and is different with containers, but this is just the best way to explain what happens. So the gateway registry is down, stopped. The Siebel server is completely stopped. Just make sure that that is. Also, one thing that I do out of, well, experience and paranoia is I'm copying the folders. So the copy is still ongoing as I record this. I'm copying the folders for these installations. So I have the cache. This is the enterprise cache, the coherence. I have the SES, the Siebel server, and I have the sidecar for Kafka integration. So I'm taking a secure copy, a backup copy of these folders, just in case I want to revert. Of course, it's a virtual machine, so I've also taken a snapshot of that virtual machine. But yeah, sometimes just copying a file over is easier than to recover the entire machine. So your mileage on the backup strategy might vary, of course. It is important to take a full backup of your database and of the entire infrastructure on top of that database. So that's all the virtual machines. You must be able to restore them to a previous point in time, no matter what technique of backing up you're using, be it a simple folder copy or be the more sophisticated thing. Backup is important. So the copy has finished, so let me just rename these folders. I'm renaming them to the previous version so I can recognize that. My previous version is 25.9. So again, this is not mandatory. If you have a decent backup strategy, you probably don't need to copy your folders. It's just my own backup. So let's focus on the task at hand. We have to update this environment. And if you have multiple Siebel instances or Siebel homes on your environment, there's also one little trick. Do the SES, the Siebel server, do it last. There are several reasons to this. Don't do a random sequence. Do the Siebel server last. It happens to just click in place best. At least for me, it did in the past, and I'll explain why. So I have the installers downloaded. So I got the 25.10 MDE from Oracle support. After extraction, into a single folder. You have that disk1 folder. You're familiar with that. And let's stop a little bit here in that install folder, because there is, there's a new thing here, find current encryption level.bat. So that has to do with encryption, obviously. There's also the ODBC stuff for the replacement of the Merand ODBC driver, but that's a different story. If you cross the line to 25.2, that's going to be important, but now today we're focusing on the encryption update. So that batch file, let's just run it. I'm curious what it does. So let me get a prompt. Go into that install folder and run that batch file. Okay, it has a certain syntax, tells me basically your Siebel home. So my Siebel home is this one for the SES. Oh, okay, it tells me I'm on AES 256. I wouldn't expect anything different unless you have a situation where you haven't upgraded your encryption over the past, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years. There was the RC4 encryption. If you're still running RC4, that process will be different. But basically the 25.10 streamlines everything into AES 256 using the Open SSH crypto libraries. So it's a change of libraries, and that's why this applies to every customer. So if you're on AES 256, you can find out with this utility, that's fine, but you still need to run the encryption upgrade. So this is just a verification utility that Oracle seems to provide here. And so we're good to start the upgrade update proper. Don't say upgrade, say it's an update. So we find the setup batch file, run it as administrator as you do. And there's also one thing, there's lots of things. So this is the MD installer. Let's just focus on this a little bit. The selection on the left, all these pages, it will probably gray out once you make your selection here. So it depends. If you enter a new home, it thinks you are installing a new Siebel home instance. We're not doing that. We're selecting an existing home. So it found not just the 3 server types I explained. I also have Siebel tools on this machine, and I have the Siebel developer web client. So all of these I need to update. I will start with the server side thingies. So I will do the SES last. So the cache, coherence cache server is the first one. As you see, as you select the home directory for an existing Siebel home, it just shrinks down the necessary tasks for doing this update. So if I click next, I can choose, optionally I can choose a backup location. It will automatically do a, not entire backup, but most important files will be in MDE backup. That's fine with me. And do you want to restart the services? Now this is a bit controversial. I always do it without restart for various reasons. I want to keep, I'm starting my services manually on this machine. You might benefit from the restart, but I'll point out at least on Windows, you will have an issue. So I'll just don't restart the services. And that's all it wants to know for this simple type of Siebel installation. That's a coherence cache server. So it's basically an internal Tomcat hosting the coherence cache on this environment. If you don't have the coherence cache already or don't know about it, check out our training on siebelhub.com. And I run the installer, and it will of course do the binary update of that instance located in the Siebel /cache folder. And that's not really super exciting, so I will just pause the recording and I will come back when this is finished. Alright, so yeah, after a few minutes, the installer comes back with installation completed successfully. Of course, you have all the log files you need in case you want to watch. So time to close that installer. And yeah, take a look at the service. So if you do this on Windows, it will update your Apache Tomcat service. So I'm refreshing this, you can see it. So these are the two services related to the coherence cache, and both are now automatic. So it kind of uninstalls and reinstalls those with the defaults. And it has begun doing that with 25.6. So it Oracle stopped that behavior and now it's back. So kind of regression maybe, regretfully, but we need to take care of the Windows Apache Tomcat services in that. Well, I don't actually need that external one, so I'm going to disable it. But for coherence, I only need the internal one. And it's the same, even if it's not just the cache server, it's the Siebel, the main Siebel internal Tomcat, whatever. You need to make sure you have your settings, you reset the settings to your desired state. So in my case, it's manual startup type. And also check out in Windows this path to the executable. So let's copy that. And let's run it in a command prompt. And if you run, don't run this straight away. Edit the prompt to read ES, that's edit service instead of RS. And after the Tomcat 9 or 10, it will be 10 after you run the update, add a W to get, when you run this, you get the Windows dialog with the whole registry configuration for that. So you can also do this in the Windows registry, but this is much more comfortable. And in the Java section, we see, yeah, that's really not nice to reset the memory pool settings back to the default, which is not suitable for Siebel. According to Oracle documentation, you must have at least 4 GB for those Tomcats. I'm on a demo machine, so I'm a little bit more modest, but I use 2.5 gigabytes, not 2560, not 256, not 260. I need 10 times more than that. So make sure you basically go in there before you do the update and record your current settings so you can reset them later. Yes, this is super unfortunate, and it has been fixed and now it's back rearing its ugly head. Be aware of that. And in my case, I also I have various Java thingies happening on this machine, so I have to really point out the correct location of the JVM DLL. Most of the time you don't need to do this, so this is just an extra step I do. I use an absolute path to the JVM DLL because there's so many installations, it gets confused. Okay, so let's apply this. And so I have fixed up my Tomcat container after the update has reset it to vanilla or to the defaults. So this is an extra step you have to take care about. Okay, but now back to the installer. So I'm ready to run the installer next time. And yeah, check out the description in video. The video has chapters. If you want to jump ahead to the actual encryption upgrade, jump ahead to the timestamps. I decided to record the full update of this machine as it is, well, beneficial, I guess, for you to watch. So the next server-side Siebel Home on this machine is the sidecar, which again, you will only have that if you use the Kafka integration. And it's very similar to the cache. It's more or less a special purpose installation of a Siebel Home. And I just go with the same settings as I did before, run the installer, and yeah, I will come back once the installer has finished. And we are back. So this sidecar instance has been updated, and similar to the previous update, it has messed up my, well, in this case, the external Tomcat, because sidecar acts on the external Tomcat. And the same situation here, I need to reset the Windows Apache Tomcat server service to manual because I like my services manually controlled. And also I'm going to check out, I'm quite sure the same thing happened, and need to reset the Java settings that I had. Yes, indeed. So that's back to the defaults, which are ridiculously small. Siebel will not work that way. And I'm doing the absolute path just for my own purpose. You don't need to do that usually, but I have to do it because there's so much stuff going on this machine. So just make sure that it's the absolute path to the same folder. Okay, so now we can get ready to do the SES installer. So now it gets interesting really, thanks for the patience. And we run the setup batch file one more time. And we point the MDE update installer to the SES home. So that's where the Siebel server is. And that is, of course, doing the post-install database update. And this will also include the encryption upgrade. So now it gets interesting. We are fine with the default backup location. We have our own backup. Let's resize this a little bit so it's better to read. This is the post-installation database update. No changes here in 25.10, so you can choose to execute it or generate a DDL only or skip it entirely. I will just on this simple setup here, I'll execute it. Most of the times I run it manually afterwards, but here I'm going to make sure to enter the correct information. Especially the ODBC data source, since the 25.2 migration, if you're using Oracle database, then make sure that you look up in your system DSN for the 32-bit ODBC data sources. Make sure that the data source you enter here is using the Oracle DB client that is the Oracle instant client that is shipped with Siebel in the correct version in your binary. So you see I have some old ones here, which is the Siebel Oracle 9.0. That's obsolete. So training DSN is actually a good data source. It's the enterprise data source. That's probably the best data source to choose if you don't have it already set here. I also have language packs here, so make sure to select all the other languages and click Next. I don't want to restart the services. And now it gets interesting, because if I don't restart the services, it will not attempt to start the gateway, which is installed in the SES, my Siebel gateway, and it will not restart the Tomcats. So the encryption upgrade will actually fail, and I want it to fail. And if you do the restart, I haven't actually tested that, but if you do the restart, it will probably restart the gateway registry and the Tomcats just in time for the encryption upgrade to run successfully. Why is this important? Because the encryption upgrade to 25.10 or later requires access to the, well, basically stuff in the zookeeper needs to be written. So the gateway registry service, the name service, zookeeper, and the internal Tomcat on top of that needs to be up and running when the encryption upgrade runs. So I purposefully do not choose to restart. So I know encryption upgrade will fail because those services are not restarted. So if you find yourself in a situation where your services are not restarting or they can't restart for any reason, then encryption upgrade will fail. And that's what we want to see here. If encryption upgrade runs smoothly, because you're doing a rolling update, for example, that means you have a gateway cluster. You need a gateway cluster for a rolling update. And that means only one of the cluster nodes of 3 or 5 or more is down. The cluster is still accessible, and then it works. But if you have only one gateway that is down at the time of updating, then this is what happens. Okay, so hopefully this explains what will happen. So what I expect to happen is the post-install database to run, post-install database update, and the encryption upgrade to attempt running and failing. And that, of course, we need to rectify. So let's now run the installer. So I'll pause the video recording while the boring part happens, and I'll come back when the post-install has finished and we see the encryption upgrade, so hopefully catch that. See you later. Okay, so it's at the update installer for SES is now at the point where it starts the post-installation setup. And that's not yet the post-installation database update, I guess, but let's check out the task manager. What's on that machine? Yeah, it's doing some other stuff. Let's just keep watching. Again, there's a timestamp in the description where you can jump directly to the encryption upgrade itself. So if in case you don't want to wait this out. So now it starts the post-install database setup proper. You can see the executables and the database becoming quite busy. So the benefit of having one single machine definitely is you see all that happening. So we can see it's quite busy doing stuff. There's good old siebdev CLI is a good sign when it comes up. siebdev CLI, the headless Siebel tools, probably doing some, doing its thing. Here it is already finished. So it depends, of course, how long this post-install database update runs. Depends entirely. And here we see it. Okay, that's cool. Encrypt upgrade executable is running. So that's a good sign. It's running as part of that installer, but it has failed. Okay, so now we can see here down here, encryption upgrade utility execution failed. That's what we're expecting. Why did we expect it? Because I choose not to restart the services, and that means it failed because it cannot reach the gateway registry. We will now investigate, of course, that. And you can also see the command line here. So it's the encryption upgrade -I. It has a setup ini and it uses the sadmin password. So if you see the Z or the Z, that's the sadmin password. It's very similar to the post-install database setup in that it has an ini file and it only needs one password. So that actually failed. Okay, so the wizard has finished by now, so we can investigate the failure. It says refer to the log file in Sieb server log, well, or the recent log archive folder. So it's not very clear on where the log file is, but we'll figure that out. Okay, so that was halfway there. And let's check the log files. So go to Sieb server log. There's a lot of activity, as you can see, by that update. And there's the encryption upgrade folder holding all the details. There's also the post-install database setup, which has run the test ODBC connection, which has run. So there's a lot going on during an update on a Siebel SES folder. But we are, of course, interested in that encryption upgrade log file. So let's open that up. And it gives us the command line that we'll probably have to run manually later once everything is fixed. So it can log into the database, that's fine. It gets the repository ID and all that. And now it executes the, well, upgrade utility proper. So there's some ODBC, that's fine. There's a UPG util, there's the encrypt UPG. So there's definitely there's something happening, and encrypt UPG is called by this utility, and it's not fine. So, and yeah, there's another log where we can see details. Okay, encrypt UPG log. So we have the command line that it tried to run, that we will have to run again. And we have another log file where we might see more information. So here it is, encrypt UPG log. That looks like a Siebel component log, but it's not. So you can see application version is up on 25.10. And well, that's what it says here is actually quite clear. Handshake to gateway failed. Could not connect to the gateway registry, cannot initialize. And that means the gateway registry. Well, check if the gateway registry cluster is up and accessible. So it's expecting a cluster. Of course, sometimes we don't have a gateway cluster, or very often development environments, test environments, even production environments sometimes don't run with a gateway cluster. So the gateway is down at this point. It fails. We understand the problem, so this is good. We can change this. So it was also a binary update. So let's go back to the two Tomcats. I'm on a Windows platform, so I have to reset my Tomcats first to the desired state. I want the manual and I want my memory settings back. So I will just apply this. So this is the external, the application interface Tomcat. Again, I'm changing for various purposes. I'm changing this path to a absolute path for the JVM DLL. Just on my system, this is necessary. And I'm using a modest memory setting. The recommended is 4 GB, but this machine is a demo machine. It can run on less. Check out the Oracle documentation for the minimum requirements of memory. It's usually 4 GB or even more for your Tomcat. So feed those kitties well, your Tomcats. And I have to do one more. Bear with me. So again, copy that path. And change it to ES. That's edit service. Add the W. And we're good to go with the memory settings. Okay, so the Tomcats are back to normal. Now I want to repeat that encryption upgrade because it failed. So I'm starting manually the gateway registry, which is of course starting the zookeeper. So it's running now. And let's just check up on it. Sorting by memory should easily reveal that. Yeah, there's the zookeeper is up. And now all we need is the internal Tomcat on top of that zookeeper. So that is, in my case, that's this internal Tomcat. Okay, so it starts up fine. It's like half an enterprise startup. You don't need to start anything else, just a gateway. And again, in a rolling update scenario, this is not a problem. The gateway is still accessible. The encryption upgrade will report a success, hopefully. But in our case, it was stopped. Okay, so now let's go to the Sieb server bin directory, because that's where the encryption upgrade utility is. Also that encryption setup ini file. So let's just run it without any input. It tells us it requires the encryption setup ini file. So we can of course clean that from the log file. So that's in the same folder. That's the file name. And of course we're curious. We want to basically check out that file first. What's in it? Nothing really unexpected. It has the various input properties. Where's my Sieb server root? What is the repository name? The DSN and so forth. So it's a setup ini file, very much like the post install database. So that is prepared, that is good. You don't need to change anything, you just need that path. And you need -C with your admin password. Okay, let's run it again, this time with -I, with that path. And there's my admin password, super safe, of course. And well, let's run it. So you can see it starts up. And drum roll. I keep the video running so you get the real-time experience. So it connects to the data source. It upgrades the registry data. Okay. Beginning registry data upgrade. So it's probably aiming at all the secure stuff in the registry, like passwords and stuff. And it has successfully executed. Okay, so this time we are in a much better shape. The reason why it didn't execute in the first place, again, I repeat, was the gateway was not up and accessible. It clearly says in the log file, so reading the log files brings you to the same conclusion. Your gateway wasn't up. And then the natural thing is to bring the gateway up, take that command and run it manually. So you make sure that encryption utility has run. It must, the encryption utility, encryption upgrade, must run once for each environment in case you're crossing the line of 25.10. So if you come from pre-24.9 or earlier to 25.10 or later. So not just 25.10. If you watch this video and it's February 2026, you have 26.2. And if you're coming from 24.9 or earlier, it's the same thing. Probably, I don't know what Oracle will add in the future, but that will apply to versions later than 25.10 as well, if you're not on 25.10. Okay, so that was successful in its own right. So the enterprise stuff, the Siebel server-side stuff on my environment is now completely updated binary-wise. So we have binary update, check. We have the post-install database update, which is mandatory, check. We have even a log file for that, so it's successful execution. And we have the encryption upgrade, check. So there should be a new log file there. Just check it out one more time. Yeah, so that is quite clear that it says, okay, it was successful in what it was just trying to do. And with that, I'll say thank you for watching this video. Wish you a good update to 25.10 or higher, and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.